Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's happening, guys? Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. For this review, Duncan Kyle and myself have been checking out the new album from London hardcore band Ironed Out. The band's new album, We Move As One, will be released on October 16th via GSR Entertainment. So, these guys formed in 2014 and have had a couple of releases to date, an EP back in 2015 and then a release in 2018 entitled In These Ends. The band also contains members of Knuckledust, Crippler, Proven, 50 Caliber, Burned Them Out, and Life Betrays Us.
Literally sounded like a series of gangster novels. Until Life Betrays Us, like Knuckleduster, like Crippled Criminal. Although Crippled Criminal would be a fucking great name for a hardcore band. Someone take note.
Absolutely, do that. If you've never heard of Ironed Out before, and I suppose the kind of best way to sum this band up is a mix between old school kind of hardcore, a la like Madball, Knuckledust, 25 to Life, even a little bit of Bodycount at times, but mixed in with a
You read
grime.
my fucking notes. You're reading my notes, man. Honestly.
Mixed in with a bit of grime rap style vocals in the vein of maybe TRC or Hacktivist. It's the old school meets the new school.
Yeah.
This is a 12-track album, and it clocks in at about 38 minutes in length, which I think is a pretty good length for a hardcore album. I think when you start to get into like 40, 50 minutes, then it starts to lose some of its appeal. Starts to become a little bit repetitive.
Yeah, there's only so many songs you can hear about your friends, your family, unity, and destroy everyone else that isn't in your friends and your family and has your unity. So, in fairness, they don't do that. So I'll give them that. The lyrics are actually surprisingly fresh. So, and when I say fresh, I don't mean like as in 80s fresh. Funky fresh vibes. I mean as in like the not what I was expecting. They don't necessarily evoke the sound, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Had either of you guys ever heard Ironed Out before, or completely new?
Big fan. Also, big liar. A big liar. Just gonna keep doing it, man. Every single you're gonna get to the stage where you just can't trust anything that comes. I know we're maybe already there, to be fair. No, I'd never heard of them before. We joked about this once again. Duncan's coming in, not reading the old notes. Thought they were American. So.
What the fuck did he think they were?
I don't know. There was bits of vocals where he sounded like you're talking about body count. Certainly is in there. There's a little bit of fucking Bones from Stuck Mojo in there as well. Just a tad, just a wee sisson in there where I was like, might be American. So clearly not though. Couldn't be any further wrong.
No,
not even the same country.
Same continent.
Yeah.
This album has a distinctively old school feel. The production, for one, it doesn't feel like overly polished. It feels a little kind of rough around the edges, which for me it gave it an almost like a 90s kind of feel to it. I liked the drum sound. It's very, very natural, had a bit of a kind of punch to it. The guitars maybe a little too fizzy for my liking. It's quite I don't know if that's a term you would use to describe a guitar.
I love it though.
Guitar tone, but, it's quite it's a bit busy, a little bit busy maybe. It's quite tight sounding, and I totally get why they've opted for that tone. It does suit the rest of the production. It kind of fits that older style hardcore sound, and I think when it's mixed with the rest of the band, I don't notice it so much. It didn't really stand out so much, but there was a couple of occasions where it did kind of catch my ear when the guitars kind of singled out, and it did kind of take me out of the album just a little bit. But what I did like though was I like the fact that a lot of their songs took a more like traditional structure. They have like a hook or a chorus that pulls you in. I feel a lot of like the modern hardcore bands put so much focus on like the big breakdown of the track.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean, and less emphasis on the thought that goes into the kind of meat and potatoes of the track. Even though like Ironed Out do have a like the groovier breakdowns in there, I think they make sure that the rest of the track is still interesting. I think a good example of that is ACAB. It does have like a big kind of chugging groove towards the tail end of the track, but prior to that part of the track, it does have these kind of big clean chords strummed throughout the chorus, which is something you don't hear a lot of from hardcore bands, and I thought that really stood out on the track. I like the fact they do play with a bit of melody. It's not an album that's like full force for its entirety. They do occasionally go down a more melodic route. Tracks like Crazy Old World or Ain't Raw, which actually it reminded me a little bit of a band called Third Strike.
Oh, God, yeah.
Remember them from back in the day? There was a little bit of that around it, some of the kind of melodies and stuff. And then you've got Setting In, which is more of a kind of interlude in the middle of the album. A little bit of a kind of breather track, just allows you to kind of reset before the second half of the album. And then the kind of second half of the album kicks off with one of their heavier moments, All Hope Is Lost, which comes complete with compulsory gang vocals, which, let's face it, it's not a hardcore album unless you've got gang vocals. But the second half of the album also did have its like melodic side. You've got Our Struggle Don't Matter and 6 Weeks, both had like this kind of smidgen of like melodic vocals. Neither track had them as their main focal point, but I think they incorporated just enough of them to catch your ear. And I think vocally is where Ironed Out really kind of come into their own. The fact that they've incorporated the kind of grime style vocal delivery instead of that kind of aggressive, like harsher style, I think it kind of sets them apart. Those tracks like Pavement Strong, Ain't Raw or ACAB, which had that kind of like bigger dose of that vocal style, where they were the tracks that really stood out for me. While a lot of the music on We Move As One will feel quite familiar, I think the grime vocals are a kind of almost like a kind of signature move for Ironed Out, which I really dug. Kyle, what did you make of Ironed Out?
Well, I actually didn't read the notes before I listened to this one, so thanks, Duncan, for that.
It's contagious.
Yeah, I just put it on and I was like, okay, cool, let's check this out. And the intro, and I was like, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Listen to the intro, I was like, this could be anything, man. Could literally be anything. It's all clean and airy and reverby, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then the second song comes on, and it's like got heavier riffs, and I'm like, oh, this could be hardcore, possibly. It's pretty much there. And then they started with the grime vocals. I was like, what the fuck am I listening to? What the actual hell is this? Oh my god, do I like it? Actually, I think I do. It's awesome. You know, like, took me a while, but I was like, wow, it really works. You wouldn't think it would, getting grime vocals in a hardcore band. But like you said, it's not all the way hardcore either. Yeah. It's got like some real standout moments that are just like, okay, so you've taken the hardcore backbone and you've added some stuff to it and made it really work. And but yeah, like you said, the signature vocals really, really, really does work. And I never ever thought it would, and it threw me for a loop when I heard it. I was like, what the fuck's going on? But it's just like, it was so good, so well done. And the lyrics themselves, they're not just, you know, complaining about crap for the sake of it. It actually has some meaning, it has some feeling behind it. They've really paid attention to everything except the production, but it kind of lends itself to itself anyway. It kind of it makes it stand out a bit, like when everything these days is so squeaky clean and overproduced. It like a bit rough around the edges works a lot for metal and heavier genres, and this may be a little bit too rough around the edges here and there, like you said, with the fizzy guitars and stuff, but it still really works very well. And I'm definitely going to be listening to this one again. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Pavement Strong is my favourite track. It's the second one. I know they've got different songs on there and everything, but that one was just like, it stands out for me because it was the one that just spoke to me like, okay, this is what we're doing. Just sit there and take it.
Okay, Duncan. Did you just sit there and take it, Duncan? Let me know.
I always sit there and take it. I do as I'm told to. Yeah, I mean, this is a weird one for me. Not only because I picked the wrong country again. I maybe have not as much glowing things to say. I don't dislike the album by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, Dave, that a lot of the bands that you mentioned up top there, your Madballs, etc., I was never really into them when they were doing their thing. I was always, like, by the time I was getting into metal, it was metal that I was listening to, so I never really went through that kind of angsty, hardcore-y sort of stage, if that is such a thing. Also love the fact that we're using the term fizzy, and that has now jumped between two reviewers, and you also said busy as well, and now I'm thinking that we should just refer to the tone as the soda stream of hardcore, because you get busy with the fizzy. Loving it. But there's a lot to like on here. There is a lot to like in here in terms of, I think personally, the things that they do well are not lean into the trappings that modern hardcore does. I think the reason that people pine for that older kind of 90s hardcore style, and even to an extent earlier 2000s as well, is because we hadn't all got to the point where, maybe just stealing your words here as well, Dave, that idea of the song needs to be built around a breakdown. To me, that's kind of missing the point. To me, what it should be built around is connecting with the audience. Hardcore, above all the genres, is about that, that almost in the face of the singer, drawn into the band, encapsulated, one of the family, one of the team sort of genres. And I think what comes best with those ones are choruses that you can sing along to, that you can fling your fucking mic out and everyone can shout, scream, sing or whatever. And hooks have to be there. That's very, very important. And nowadays it doesn't feel like that's the case. Nowadays it feels like it should be the most aggressively bludgeoning, and there's a time and a place for it, but I think that's kind of where Ironed Out sound great, is the idea of including a grime style vocal, which I'm surprised they're the first ones to really be doing this. To me, the way that grime rap is presented falls into a lot of the kind of lyrical trappings and sings about a lot of the same struggles that hardcore music sings about. So I think that there's a bit of genius kind of tying those things over. Also, I'm surprised that Hacktivist have got away with that kind of niche sort of level in the UK as long as they have. I'm surprised we weren't awash with kind of grime ridden like metal bands kind of post them.
Yeah.
I think the biggest kind of problem I have is one of the biggest reasons I enjoy it. The biggest problem is the guitars are nowhere near thick enough for their sound. They lack the, especially when it works fine with the clean sections, but when I do get that, when the gang vocals come in, those gang vocals almost overshadow the guitars, and they shouldn't. At no point should anything be overshadowing the heavier sounding guitar bit. They're a bit thin. And once again, in the 90s, bands sounded like that. That's the production, and if that's what they're going for, then they've nailed the brief. However, you have intentionally modernised the sound by including modern style vocals. So as a result of that, the production needs to lean into that as well, or there's a bit of a mismatch. Interestingly enough, we've heard a couple of albums this year which have emulated older kind of 90s sims, and what they've managed to do is take that vibe, that feel, that aesthetic, but modernise it as well, so you don't lose the bits where I can't really make out the bass, which is a ton of 90s albums. It kind of is just missing that. Musically, they're doing fine. I mean, there's nothing I can really complain about there. I did get to the end of it though, and I was pretty much of the opinion that a lot of it was stuff that I'd heard before, and I do think they've got a really interesting take. I don't want to use the word gimmick, but they do have an interesting take that will make them stand out from the crowd. I imagine the guitar issues that we're hearing just now will not be pertinent live. You will not hear that live. I think it's just a case of the production, they've had a clear sound, or the producers had a clear sound that they wanted to go for. He's ticked that brief. I imagine they slay live. I would be very surprised if they don't. But yeah, there's a lot to like on here. It's just not necessarily my particular... It doesn't gravitate necessarily fully to my tastes.
Sure. No, I totally get that. I think maybe I'm enjoying it because, unlike yourself, I kind of started off
You were
like
totally
with,
into that when I met you.
You know, it was like bands like Propane and stuff that kind of got me into that, and the kind of whole metal side of things. So I found there was a lot to enjoy in this. I liked the fact that they were taking that older style and kind of mixing it with the newer vocal. I think it works really well. Hardcore can be a genre that's fairly predictable, but I do think Ironed Out do a pretty good job of keeping it appealing. As we've all said, I didn't love the guitar tone. I think some of the riffs would have landed a little better with a kind of chunkier tone, but at the same time, by changing the guitar tone, it would have probably compromised the overall sound the band were going for. So I do understand why they went down that route. Musically, it's not what you'd class as like pioneering, but you know, as you said, you've heard this type of thing done before. But even though it has that familiar feel, I think there are enough interesting components to pique your interest on this one. So yeah, I did still enjoy this album. Rating wise, where are we sitting on the new album from Ironed Out?
You want me to go first?
You go
I think I'll probably be the lowest here at the group. I'm a 3. Okay. Like I say, there's a lot in here that I appreciate and I enjoy. It's not my particular bag, but I'd be interested. I think that they've got a cool thing going on here that, you know, if they release another album, I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'll go with 4.
4?
Yeah, I mean, production issues aside, it was, you know, I like songs that have meaning and talk about things and not just crap, and it's an interesting sound, so it's just, it spoke to me on different levels, even if not all of them hit home, but good.
Nice one. I'm going to sit between you. I'm going to go for a 3.5. As I said, I still enjoyed the album. Yeah, a lot of the music was quite familiar, and there were some production issues, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. If you want to check these guys out, you can check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/Ironed Out. Ironed Out LBU, I think it is. I'll put a link in the description below, so you can check them out on Facebook. The album will be out on October 16th. It's called We Move As One. Check it out, see what you think. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks once again for checking out this review. Much appreciated. We'll be back with a new review very soon. But until then, take care and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.